Morning everybody, Andy here again, day 58. Once again, as usual, put the figures down there. And yesterday, the daily reported deaths, 363, and the total now, 35,704. As I've stressed, this is one of those things that is debatable, but these are the official figures. So I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and I've tried to give the official figures right the way through. I know in time we will find out exactly where we are or where we were, but as I said, once again, 35,700 is a lot of people, all individual people. What I want to talk about today actually is one of sort of the hot topic of the moment. Something that's been going on for a while. Is this what they call it, contact and tracing? Because for the first time yesterday, we actually met up with a friend, socially distanced, down on the seafront. The first time that we've actually done that since this whole lockdown started sort of 8 weeks ago or something. Now you're allowed to do that, and once again, as long as it's someone outside of your household, as long as you obey the social distancing laws or rules, should we say, which is what we did. But the whole idea of this contact and tracing is that to figure out how and when and if people have come into contact with people who do eventually contract the virus, COVID-19. This is one of those things that's been going on for some time now. I know other countries, I know Germany is using it as some sort of form of this, Hong Kong and other countries are using it, working on it, whatever, because it is thought it's one of the ways that we can help us come out of this whole problem. Because if we can find out when someone actually gets the virus, if we can know one way or another, and there's various different ways which I'll come into in a minute, if you can then find out who they've been in contact with, because obviously there are restrictions that you should only be in contact with certain people, but if you've been in contact with so many people, and you can then find out who those people are, you then trace those people, tell those people, and then you can find out where they've been, and then people can isolate themselves, quarantine themselves, etc., etc. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a way out of this in one form, but probably used with a mixture of other ideas as well. Obviously, ultimately, we want a vaccine, but we could have an antibody test or something like that to find out who's had this virus without really knowing it, because we know about all the different symptoms. But there are different ways. I mean, Boris Johnson yesterday in Parliament said that we're going to have a contact tracing app or system in place by the 1st of June, which is just over a week's time. Now, once again, I think this is very ambitious. And of course, the first question is, why haven't we got one anyway? Why are we starting to do this now when we're actually starting to come out of this? Yes, we could still need it, as I've just said, because ultimately we need it for the long term. But it does seem a long time coming, and with the government's other schemes like the 100,000 tests per day, which still isn't being achieved every single day, you are beginning to wonder. I mean, they did, because there are different ways. I think that the way that the government are hoping to bring this in is like either a telephone system or a personal system, which allows people to sign these people up, so they are sort of known people, and if they were to get the virus, they would then fill in a form or whatever it is via the telephone or whatever, some sort of online service or something, would then say who they've been in contact with, etc., etc. But they have to sign these people up, because obviously not everybody can do it, because I wouldn't know who do I contact. It's got to be some sort of official system in place, and people have to sign up for it to do it. And I think they're hoping to get sort of 10,000 people to start with. It doesn't sound like very many people, does it? But presumably they can put these into where we know that there are little hot spots at the moment. So it's a way of doing it. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Bit late after the horse has bolted, maybe, as I said, and whether it will be in place by the 1st of June is debatable. Now, the other system that a lot of people are using, I'm not sure what they're using elsewhere, and as I said before, if I'm making factual errors, please let me know. But, just trying to put these things out there as to where we are. But the NHS brought in a system using mobile phones on the Isle of Wight. For those who aren't in the UK, the Isle of Wight is a small island off of the south coast of England, population of, I think it's about 150,000. So they thought, in a small scale place, good idea, fairly sort of isolated community, should we say. And the app, what it does, you use your Bluetooth on your phone, you have the app on you, and because of Bluetooth on your phone, in case you're not aware, they can tell who you've been in contact with by other phones that are using Bluetooth as well. So if you were to, you have this app on your phone, You get the symptoms, you say you've got the symptoms, then they can find out by tracing you by your mobile phone as to who you've been in contact with, and then they contact those people. It's a lot quicker. Probably than using the other form where people have to fill things in or try and remember, hang on, now, who did I see that day? Was it so-and-so? No, that was the other day. You know, that sort of thing. It's done for you. It's taken out of your hands, so it should be a lot quicker. The trouble with that is that people have to have the app. People have to agree to the app, and there's the security considerations, that type of thing. You have to have a certain type of smartphone for it to work in the first place, and to make it sort of reasonably effective, you have to have a sort of a take-up of about 60% of the community that you're trying to do it in. So with, you know, you've got about 60, 70, 80,000 people on the Isle of Wight would have to sign up to this for it to be relatively effective. I suppose it doesn't matter how many people, it's better than nothing, but to be really, really effective and to have some, you know, benefits in the long term, it would need to have that 60% take up. Now, the ironic thing is that Google and Apple's using the Apple iOS or the Google Android, they have this system on phones that could be used. They've allowed the API, as they call it, the sort of all the coding and everything for it to be shared. They've said that the government or any other government, any other company or whatever could use this particular system and for their phones, you know, so that we could have had this system months ago. Obviously, you don't want to get involved with big business, but the trouble is one of the things, as I understand it, is that the Google and the Apple idea, the software on their app, only keeps all the data on that particular phone, whereas the one that the government are trialling in the Isle of Wight, the NHS one, actually puts it into a central database. And we all know what happens with them, as happened yesterday with phone messages going or the contact details. People get hacked into things. If it's on your phone, it's not so easy to get it. So there's that huge security thing. And it's something that I would certainly be very wary about, having an app that stored my details or everybody else's details on a central database rather than just on my phone. So you've got that type of thing. And, you know, we don't trust governments very easily with our data, do we? So it's not an easy thing. Once again, I've said this so many times. There's so much going on. It's not easy for any government anywhere in the world to get through this. But you do wonder why this hasn't happened before and why they passed up the opportunity to use a system that was already there rather than try and make up their own system, which costs lots of money. The NHS has got a great history of wasting billions of pounds on software and computer systems and things like that. Government generally have. When there's a system there which has been allowed to be used and possibly be safer. Yes, okay, Google and all that, you know, they always had that slogan about don't be evil, but, you know, the way that they've been, at least it isn't Facebook, I suppose, who's decided it. So there you go. So that's the topic at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how this develops, whether there will be a system in place by the 1st of June. I hope there is, obviously, as with all these things. I said I want this to finish. I want to get through this and I want us to get back to normal, some sort of normality. But I just don't have a great deal of faith in the people that are taking us there at the moment, which is why I get a bit frustrated at times. So there you go. We'll see where this goes. Hopefully it will work. And then we can sort of come out of this. The figures are starting to go down. As I said, maybe we've done it after the horse has bolted, but if it allows us to move on a little bit further, a little bit quicker and safer as well, then it's got to be worth a try, I think. So best of luck with that one. So anyway, stay strong, stay safe, and hopefully I shall speak to you tomorrow.